An artist sent me this mix recently and it just wasn't hitting, so I gave myself 10 minutes to fix it, and I only ended up making really about 3 big moves. I'm going to show you exactly what I changed and why it worked.
So cinematic, I'm so nostalgic lately. I hear the static.
This is a real session from a real artist that I work with, and this happens all the time. The song is good, the performance is good, but the mix just isn't emotionally translating. When that's the case, I'm not reaching for fancy tricks. Typically I'm listening and just looking for a few decisions that are actually going to move the needle. So here are the 3 things that I check first when a mix just isn't fully working. The first thing I did had nothing to do with plugins at all. I just listened and fixed some of the balance issues. Most struggling mixes, simplified, are just the wrong things are loud. So before touching EQ or compression, I pulled everything down and rebuilt the balance around the vocal or the emotion of the song. If the balance is wrong, no plugin is going to save you. But if the balance is right, then the mix is halfway there.
Thinking about you all the time. I do.
The second thing I touched was the low end. It kind of felt like the low end was fighting itself. The kick and the bass are both pretty big in this song. The artist really loved the bass patch that they came up with and the production. So one thing that felt important was giving both of those things priority in this mix. But how do you give priority to 2 things that are living in the same area of the frequency spectrum? And it's really simple if you think about it like this. There really can only be one thing living in one place at a time. So if the kick, is really focusing on this, say, 80 hertz area, we don't want the bass to also primarily be punching in that region. So we want to move one of those away from the other a little bit. You can do that with volume or just simple frequency shaping. I like to do a little bit of both. So a lot of times I'll sidechain the bass to the kick. Every time the kick hits, there's just a little duck in volume so the bass can breathe a little more instead of fighting each other. Another thing you can do is sidechain just the frequency. And so like I said, if the kick is punching at 80 hertz, we're going to sidechain that frequency to the bass. So every time the kick hits, that little area of frequencies will get ducked just a little bit so that everything can breathe and have its place. So I'm really not doing anything fancy here. I'm just deciding who owns which space. So really simply, I'm just sending the kick to my bass bus. Just a simple stock Pro Tools compressor. And I'm setting up my bus to receive the kick. And so every time the kick hits, it's just ducking 4 to 6 dB, and I'll show you here. So it's really simple, but that one decision can make your mix sound a lot more expensive. And the third move, and this is a pretty big one, the chorus didn't really feel bigger than the verse, and I felt like it needed to. And that's usually not a volume problem, that's more of a contrast problem. The goal isn't necessarily louder, the goal is usually just some emotional contrast. So a couple super simple ways that I'll do that. As you can see here, I have all of my wet effects grouped together, and I'll send all the vocals through this hall and an 1/8 and a 1/4 note delay doing some different things. Essentially, I'll just automate the wet effects as a whole. So in the verses, they'll feel a little more dry. In the choruses, they'll feel, more wet. And then usually the climax of the song, whether that's a big bridge or maybe the final chorus, I'll just boost those to really lean into the highest dynamic or the most emotional part of the song. Or another simple way that I'll have some of that contrast and emotion is, maybe in the verses, I'll put a high pass on my entire synth and bass bus. Not to totally get rid of it, but to just let most of the strength of those sections happen in the chorus rather than the smaller sections of the song. Because the chorus is really the summary or the thesis of your song. And so we want that to be the most emotional, impactful part of the listening experience. And so it's really working backwards, saying, if this chorus is at a level 10, how can we then, create this arc? Can we put the verse at a 6 or a 7 dynamically so that the chorus punches you more and that message gets subconsciously ingested more? It's really moves like that make a song a lot more impactful. All right, so here's my full before and after back to back. If you want more videos like this, real sessions, real fixes, and just practical stuff that actually helps you finish your song, that's what this channel is all about. Next video, I'm breaking down my exact drum chain that I use on most indie tracks, so I will see you there. See ya.